So first, let's talk about what mindfulness is for anybody who's listening that hears it all the time, but isn't even sure exactly what that is.
Well, for me, everyone has their own kind of experience and definition of mindfulness. For me, and the way I look at mindfulness is the practice of mindfulness truly awakens your mind and your heart from autopilot. And it enables you to experience life unfolding in the present moment. Because oftentimes we're just on like autopilot and go, 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 and not even realizing what we're doing, what we're seeing, what we're thinking, what we're hearing, what we're smelling. Like we're not in tune with our senses and we're just on autopilot. So it unlocks our ability when we are in the present moment to tap into our intuition and creativity so that we can receive new information and develop, a new perspective with a beginner's mind, not a like I know it all judgmental mind, but a beginner's mind, which then allows room for that creativity and new perspectives. So in a nutshell, in short, mindfulness is presence of heart, unveiling your truest self and desires is the way I see it.
So how did you get introduced to this and like beginner's mind and everything?
Well, back in, gosh, I don't even know when it was, in 2000, like 15 plus 20 years ago. I'm really now dating myself, but my mother started meditation very long time ago, decades ago, and she started with TM. And when I started actually working for Steve and then my other jobs following, she always noticed I was very stressed and just like tired and always complaining I didn't have enough time. And I was lacking energy and just like in some parts, sometimes on the verge of burnout. And she said, you really should meditate. And I was like, I don't have time to sit and do nothing. I'm actually complaining that I don't have enough time. How can I sit there and do nothing when I need to do all these things, like my huge list of to-dos? And she says, trust me, if you do it twice a day for 20 minutes. And I scoffed. I was like, yeah, 40 minutes to do nothing. Yeah, right. And so I was like, this isn't for me. I don't have the time for this. But she said, if you do it, you'll gain more time. Because in other words, you're going to gain that energy and just like be more centered and focused and efficient. Well, I just ignored and disregarded that for at least a decade until I was ready. And so a great life lesson is like, you may get the best advice of your life, which that actually was the best advice of my life. But if you're not ready to receive it, it doesn't matter how good the advice is. So I was not ready to receive it for about a decade until this really life-changing trip to Antarctica made me just more centered and focused and aware of just the beauty of like the untouched land. When I was in Antarctica on this expedition, I came back and something clicked in me and I told my mom, you know what? I'm ready for meditation. And she was just so pleasantly surprised and quickly got me into the TM program. I got initiated. This was back in 2009. And since then, I literally have, my whole life has changed. I have for the better, like just turned upside down for the better. I was just like life changing.
I was waiting for you to tell me some secret thing that's going to have my daughter, who's 22, like say, okay. I was waiting. I'm like sitting here frothing and going, you're going to give me the secret to have my daughter say, okay, I'm ready. Like once in a while, but yeah, she's not.
Secret is to be persistent. My mom was, but like let her come. Yes, it's perfect. I mean,
she's heard it her entire life. She has heard. And when they were really little, they would do the meditations like for little kids and at different times in their life, but not my son, definitely not him right now. He's still in college though. So.
Okay.
But
there's always hope. They totally change. They're so young, right? Like I was very young too. And I was like, I don't have time for that. But then something clicked that I'm like, no, I do. And I need it. I want it. It wasn't even I need it. It was like, I want this. I want to try this new experience. And maybe after college or, as they get older, maybe they'll meet a new friend or meet someone who does it. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I want to try it. It's sometimes coming from the mother, even though you may be the closest person.
It's never good coming from mom.
But one day it will be. That's when, like, now at my older age, my mom's my first person I call for everything and tell her everything, so it's just life stages. And hopefully she will decide that it's time, that she's ready.
Yeah, I mean, she's grown up seeing it. So anyway, I was just a question. So when you have your own personal obstacles, what are your go-to tools?
Pause, breathe, choose. And sometimes it depends what the obstacle is, but that is my first go-to, is pause, take a pause and take breaths. And then I have to choose, I'm able to then choose more wisely of how I want to proceed. Sometimes it's that pause is a really long pause, like, hey, I need to step back. I need to, like, take a break. I need to, just depends what kind of obstacle. My trip to India, how I left, and took this like 6 week trip, was a long pause from corporate America. And I came back and chose to quit my job, and start my company. Like, that was a huge pause. But sometimes a pause is just a couple breaths, or like, sleeping on it and thinking about what to do next when you wake up. And, so it totally depends. But pause, breathe, choose. And then my healthy habits that are ingrained in me, that are my daily healthy lifestyle habits, like, meditating, exercising, eating well, and sleeping well. Like, those things help build resilience and maintain resilience, so that when those obstacles, challenges, adversity, anything comes your way, you're better equipped because you're taking care of yourself. Now imagine, like, I coach executives who barely sleep. They're totally burnt out, burning the candles on both ends. They are, I mean, what seems to be like almost on their way to the hospital from like adrenal fatigue. I've had a client who actually passed out in a meeting from adrenal fatigue because he was disregarding his own self-care and prioritizing his work and his company and more than his own self-care. And it ended him up in the hospital. So taking care of yourself is number one, to be able to take care of everyone else and everything else, right? So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I love all the tools that you just gave. And in your book, you have great questions to ask yourself about why are you tired and what's going on. I mean, you don't say what's going on; you have actual questions to see what
Yeah.
is going on. And your book is very rich.
Thank you.
Yes, I very much recommend your book, and we'll have links and everything to the book and to everything else on the website and in the show notes. So let's now go through, like, you've got I call it a 3-step process, and it kind of is. So for somebody listening, everybody cannot have your coaching or may not work for a company that you're going to go to. So somebody who is facing the obstacles and their inner critics going, and they don't feel fulfilled right now, they are burnt out. What are some tools that you would give them? Some practical tools.
Well, the first thing I would do, because as you said, my book is very rich. It's like has abundance of strategies, tools,
Yes.
actions. And the reason I did that is not to overwhelm someone. That is not the purpose, is not to be like, hey, do all these things. Absolutely not. It's to give choices. Like, I love choices. Pause, breathe, choose. So choose one thing that's going to make you feel better. So everyone's different. That's why, again, lots of choices, not all of those, every single thing is going to work for every single person. Maybe some things work better, some things, work, better for certain people than others. So what I would say is, what is one thing that helps you feel better, like makes you feel good? What is it? Like, I mean, the obvious ones are like sleeping, getting proper sleep, not just, sleeping, like catching up one weekend and then pulling all-nighters throughout the week, or not sleeping enough. No, like consistent sleep, having like a bedtime, routine, going to sleep at the same time and waking up at the same time every day. According to sleep experts, that is the number one best thing that you could do to sleep better consistently.